Good evening. It's really an honor for me to be here. I'm overwhelmed with emotion to look around the room, especially after just hearing from Dr. Steinman. That's one story of the so many tens, probably hundreds of stories that is going on in the community. Jay and Jeannie, you planted seeds 30 years ago. And together with Rabbi Morris, you watched how those seeds that you put into the ground nurtured and turned into such a beautiful community. Just the name of tonight's evening, our Kollel, our community, our life. That means that everyone understands that the Kollel, that Torah is our life. And Torah is the only thing that will ensure the continuity of the Jewish people. We're here this evening to make a siyum, which I'm grateful is being done in memory of my beloved father, Rabbi Zlotowitz, Zichrono Livracha. The Jewish people owe him a debt of gratitude. But I want to begin by telling you about a story of a young boy who grew up in the 1950s. He went to camp in the summer, but he was not the camper you would choose as camper of the year. He was not athletic. He was overweight. He was hampered with a stutter. Let's be honest, today you would call that kid a born loser. But the camp director, Rabbi Yechiel Aryeh Monk, understood that every person in this world has a unique mission. He looked at the young boy and spotted an extraordinary talent. The boy was an artist. He was smart, innovative, and creative. And he also had a flair for writing. Rabbi Monk encouraged the boy to use those talents, and the boy became a star in camp and in yeshiva. This boy, who was surely labeled that born loser, went on to use his talents in pirchei and success in business. But the story doesn't end there. He ultimately opened up Torah learning to hundreds of thousands of Jews of all backgrounds and inspired them in so many ways. It sounds impossible, but it's not. How do I know? Because that boy was my father. Rabbi Zlotowitz. He was given the ability to believe in the talents that Hashem gave him, and together with Rabbi Nosson Sherman, he created a Torah revolution that's still going strong. This is not a story about art school. It's a story about every one of us. We have to believe that if we're on this world, we have a mission that only we could accomplish, that no one else can. Every morning we wake up, we start with the words, Moda ani lefanecha, Melech chai v'kayam. We give thanks to Hashem for giving us a new day. Shechezarta bi nishmasi b'chemla. You gave me back my soul with mercy. And then we end off very strange. Rabba emunasecha. We tell Hashem, great is your belief. What do you mean? Great is Hashem's belief? We should say great is our belief in Hashem. What is it? We're talking to Hashem and saying, Rabbi emunasecha, great is your belief. And I once heard a beautiful pshat. We're telling Hashem, if you gave us back our neshama and you gave us a new day, you must believe in me. Rabbi emunasecha, you believe in what I could accomplish today that no one else could accomplish. And that was my father's life. He was never satisfied with what he accomplished in the past. He always said over a story that when he moved to Borough Park in Brooklyn, he used to daven by the Kapushnitzer Rebbe. And when he moved in, they said before Pesach that the Rebbe is going to bake matzos. So he figured he'll go along. And the Rebbe comes, he was a very holy man, and after they finished baking the matzos, everyone lined up to get a blessing before the holiday. There was one person who worked in the matzah bakery, and when it was his turn, the Rebbe took some money out of his pocket, handed it over to him, and said, here's some money for the holiday. And he gave him a blessing. A few weeks later, Erev Pesach, which means the day before Pesach, the Rebbe went again to the matzah bakery to bake matzah. So my father went along. And the same scene played out. Everyone lined up for their blessing. And when this person's turn came to get his blessing, the Rebbe again puts his hand in his pocket, takes out some money, and hands it over to him and says, this is for the holiday. And the person looks at him and says, Rebbe, you were Yotzei already, which means you fulfilled your obligation. You once gave me money a few weeks ago. And the Rebbe looked at him and said words that my father would never forget. He said, I didn't come onto this world just to fulfill my obligations. What I did, but now I have to do more. And that's how my father lived his life. Imagine he would have written Megillas Esther 45 years ago, and he would have said, look what I accomplished, I wrote it. He went on. And he went on to the Stone Chumash and to the Schottenstein Talmud, and the list goes on. And he created a Torah revolution because of that, because that's what he believed in. Another story I want to share with you goes back a few hundred years. There was once a woman that was crossing on a bridge over the river Romanova. As she's crossing over the bridge, she's holding a young girl on a pillow in her hands, and she trips, and the young girl with the pillow fall down into the river. And the onlookers are going, oh my gosh, what's going to be? And they're watching, and a miracle happens that the baby lands on the pillow, and it drifts towards the shore, and they save the baby, and they give over this young girl to the mother. Who was this young girl? Who was this baby? She turned out to be the mother of the Vilna Gaon, of the great Vilna Gaon. Years later, Reb Chaim Volozhin, who was the greatest student of the Vilna Gaon, every time he would cross over that bridge, he would say the following blessing: Baruch she'asa li neis b'makom hazeh. Blessed are you, God, that a great miracle happened to me in this place. Why did he say that blessing? Because he was thankful to Hashem that by saving that young girl, who ended up having a child of Vilna Gaon and ended up teaching him Torah. 32 years ago, another great miracle happened. A young rabbi from Brooklyn by the name of Meir Zlotowitz came to Columbus, Ohio, and met a great philanthropist by the name of Jerome Schottenstein. Hashem put this shidduch together, and because of that meeting, the outgrowth is hundreds, millions of hours of Torah learning. Because Jay and Jeannie, after Jerome's untimely passing, took the burden on their shoulders, and together with my father had the same dreams and lived the same essence that my father did of we can never do enough for the Jewish people. Jay and Jeannie are never satisfied with what was done in the past. They could have stopped after the Schottenstein English Talmud, and they would have had a special place and special reward in Shemayim. But they went on to the Hebrew Talmud, the English Jerusalem Talmud, the Hebrew Jerusalem Talmud, the Book of Mitzvahs, Siddurim, Machzorim, Tehillims, and believe me, we're not finished. I tell people there's so much to do for the Jewish people. We're going to ensure the continuity of the Jewish people. I'll just end off with a blessing. The Torah says, Baruch Asher Yakum es Divrei HaTorah Azos. Blessed are those that keep the Torah going. That doesn't mean only the people who learn Torah. Of course, Rabbi Morris and all the people in the Kollel and Rabbi Kappenstein, your reward is tremendous. But everyone who walks into the Kollel, everyone who gives money to the Kollel, everyone who supports the Kollel, you could run around to the greatest rabbis for blessings, but the Torah is giving you the greatest blessing because it comes from God Himself. Baruch Asher Yakum es Divrei HaTorah Azos. If you keep the Torah going, God is going to ensure that you are blessed. So you could all feel confident going into the new year. when you're davening on Rosh Hashanah and you're davening on Yom Kippur, that God is watching over you because you're ensuring that His Torah will go on. Mazel tov.